What's going on, beautiful people? Dominic here with another video, and today I will be showing you how to replace an alternator on a 2009 Hyundai Elantra. But first, be sure to hit the like and subscribe button. Tools needed: ratchet and extension, 10mm socket, 12mm deep socket possibly, 12mm wrench, 14mm socket, and a 14mm deep socket. Thing you want to do: disconnect the battery using a 10mm socket. Now that the battery's disconnected, you want to disconnect this wire harness for the alternator. And I got the disconnector loose. Mine was so tight I had to stick two hands down there. All right, so you want to jack the car up and get up under here. Now right here you might have a panel with, I believe, 3 screws. I removed it already. So you're gonna need a 10mm socket to remove them. All right, so you want to remove the second electrical connector for this bolt. So you actually need a 12mm deep socket to remove the second electrical connector. All right, so I had to get a 12mm wrench. Bear with me, it's a little difficult to record and use the tool at the same time, as I always say in all of my videos. I'm trying to put that on so you can see. Okay. And you just remove the connector. Next, while you're down here, just go ahead and loosen up this bolt. I'm not gonna remove it just yet, just gonna loosen it. Next, I'm gonna use the wrench to unloosen the tensioner. And you're gonna need a 12mm wrench, or if you got a ratchet, 12mm socket. Loosening 2 screws on the upper left using a 12mm wrench. Like I was saying earlier, I had loosened this screw. Don't worry about this. Can't come out that far. I loose this screw. The screw connected to the tensioner, allowing the alternator to move up and down, is a 14mm socket. Alright, so now that the 14mm screw is removed, remove the serpentine belt. And as you can see, if you lift up on the alternator, you can, since I unloosened the tensioner, just pull this and the alternator comes up. See how it rocks? And you can just take the belt off the alternator. And then you go back under and you remove the screw from the alternator. Now that the serpentine belt is removed, go back under the car, remove the nut connected to the stud so you can get ready and remove the alternator. And that's all you gotta do is just pull it down. And if you haven't pushed that screw out, like I said, there's a nut on the right side at the bottom. Make sure you push that screw out so you can get the alternator out. You'll see the little stud doesn't come all the way out. So I'm gonna have to figure out a way to get this off so I can remove this alternator. And you would need a 14mm deep socket to remove this screw. So either you remove all these screws, well, unloosen them and slide them all the way out and unloosen this one. You can shift this whole bar over to be able to remove the alternator from top. If you're not comfortable with messing with anything around your water pump, you can remove the oil filter from up under and remove it that way. But be sure to know how much oil goes in the oil filter so you can replace the oil that's been missing. This is how small the screw is. It's directly up under here. You'll see once you start working on it and you can feel it. That's a 14mm socket. So, all right, so this is what that do. It was over here at first. You just let the alternator down, slide this over, bring this all the way over. Like I said, if you don't feel comfortable doing it this way, you can remove your oil filter. from the bottom and replace the oil that's missing. And you can take your alternator out through the bottom. Because try to zoom in. You can see. You can see where the screw is at. All right, this is where the screw is at. Up on the alternator. So you need a pry bar. I'm using a screwdriver. And I just pried the alternator off track right here a little bit. And I'm gonna pull it off. Now that it fell out, it fell off the track. So move this out the way and pull it up. But of course I can't do it with one hand, and it's gonna be difficult. So I'll get back to the video in a second. You can see I got it up and out. It's definitely not easy getting it up through the top. And you gotta be careful not to break anything. So match up the old alternator with the new alternator. Remove your stud that you had left over here, if you haven't already. And place it onto the new one. Now let's get back to the video since everything matches. Definitely want to double check and make sure the plugs match. So as you can see, my alternator won't fit because of the lower mounts. This is sticking out too far when you put the alternator on. So I'm just gonna show you a quick video on how to push that back in. You put the nut on a lower stud, push it through, turn it in, hammer it, and it should go right in. I couldn't record and hammer at the same time. I'm sure you understand. And as you can see, it's pushed in now. As you can see with that little trick, it fits on perfectly now. No more struggling. Thing that I forgot to mention, that before you put this serpentine belt on, make sure the lower screw is still loose, and make sure the screw next to the tensioner is still loose. That way you can get the serpentine belt on and around a harmonic balancer, and then you tighten everything up after that. So when you put your alternator and everything back on, don't tighten up the screws all the way. I'm gonna put the serpentine belt on, so go around the top pulley, alternator, then we could get up under there and make sure everything fit. Get back up here and tighten it up. I try to get you a better view. Here it is right here. Just gonna finish putting the belt on. While you're under, make sure it's on a harmonic balancer plate. Also, once you put on a serpentine belt, don't forget to tighten this screw up. Otherwise, your belt will be doing a lot of squealing when you start it. And if it does that, you just know to tighten it up. If you're having a hard time putting the serpentine belt on a harmonic balancer, simply remove the screw, connect it to the tensioner using a 14mm socket. That will allow you to adjust the alternator back and forth. It should be easy to put the serpentine belt on that way. So I tightened up all the screws, got the alternator up, lined it up, about to get in, tighten up this screw. It's a better picture. Yeah, this screw right here. Just gonna hold it up and tighten it up. I was able to find my small ratchet and it works perfect. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and connect this lower connector and then put the nut on. So get your 12mm wrench and tighten this up and then cover it up with the rubber boot. So put the rubber boot on. And that's it for the bottom. Let's go to the top and connect this. So connect this, make sure you hit snap. After this, put your negative terminal back on the battery and you tighten it up. All right, get your 10mm socket, tighten up the battery. As you can see, this is serpentine belt, not too tight, not too loose. So I'm on the inside, no battery light. And that's how you replace the alternator on a 2009 Hyundai Elantra. Thank you for watching. Have a beautiful day.